Revealed, she's actually not my daughter. How I transformed my life after 10 years of sacrifice. Mark stared at the letter as if it were a snake, ready to strike. The summer sun poured through the window, illuminating the dust dancing in the air, but all he could see were the words, blunt and piercing. You are not Jenna's biological father. The world he had constructed for his little girl, a world spun from unwavering love and determination, began to unravel before him. For the last decade, he had fought tooth and nail to create a home that was bursting with laughter and joy. Jenna was his shining star, the fiery 12-year-old who filled their modest kitchen with crazy ideas and contagious giggles. She was more than just his daughter. She was his reason to wake up every morning with a heart full of hope. Mark had always known the whispers behind closed doors, how neighbors eyed them with curiosity, but he chose to ignore them. After all, love isn't dictated by bloodline. And yet, in one fell swoop, that love felt tainted. The letter was from Jenna's mother, his college best friend who had vanished from their lives after a scandal shook their world to its core. Mark's hands trembled as he recalled the sleepless nights spent listening to Jenna's dreams, teaching her about integrity and resilience. All that hard work seemed to hang by a thread now, fraying with every mention of a father she never knew. The door swung open, and in rushed Jenna, her cheeks flushed with excitement. Dad, I can't wait to start middle school. Did you get the supplies? She stopped in her tracks, sensing the tension, confusion knitting her brows together. What's wrong? Mark's heart raced. Should he lay the truth at her feet, or guard her innocence just a little longer? It's just a letter, sweetie, he managed to say, his voice straining against the weight of his fear. But the truth hounded them both, lurking in every shadow, until it finally burst forth one evening over bowls of mac and cheese. Jenna's eyes filled with tears, sincerity pouring from her as she asked the impossible question. Is it true, Dad? Am I really not yours? The silence stretched and gripped at Mark's throat. Jenna, love is not only blood. It's about the moments we share, the lessons I've tried to teach you, he pleaded, fighting back the wave of emotions that threatened to drown him. Maybe it doesn't matter, Dad, she snapped, desperation painting her voice. What if my real father wants me back? He felt like a fish trapped in a net, flailing against the current. He had always known this moment might come, yet the reality was a fist to his gut. No matter what you find, you have to remember I am still your dad. Your life is here, with me. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. Torn, Jenna stormed from the table, leaving behind traces of their shattered world. Every minute apart felt like a lifetime. With each passing day, she withdrew, her curiosity about her biological family growing like a weed suffocating the roots of their bond. That night, as Mark lay wide awake, fear gnawed at his insides. He knew they were at a crossroad filled with jagged edges and potential heartbreak. Would Jenna ever choose to stay, to embrace the family they built together? Or would the allure of a wealthy life overshadow the love that had always been theirs? Mark's chest tightened as he drifted into a restless sleep, the stillness of the night echoing the uncertainty hanging over their lives. The question lingered in the silence. Would Jenna choose the truth, or would she embrace the love that had never wavered? Tomorrow would bring answers, but he feared that the only thing harder than facing the truth was the possibility of losing her forever. Morning light crept through the window, casting soft rays across the kitchen. Mark woke up with a heart heavy as lead, feeling the staleness of uncertainty linger in the air. The previous day's conversation with Jenna echoed painfully in his mind. Every tick of the clock felt like a countdown to an inevitable drift that might take her away from him. He poured himself a cup of coffee, its warmth barely comforting him, as he slid into his usual spot at the kitchen table. The emptiness was palpable. Last week, they would have been chatting about her new school, each conversation spiced with playful banter. Now, the silence weighed heavy, like a blanket of dread. He glanced toward the corner, where Jenna's backpack sat, bright and full of promise, a jarring contrast to the growing chasm of doubt between them. Just then, he heard the familiar sound of her footsteps padding across the hallway. His heart leaped at the thought of a normal morning, a slice of routine that could possibly mend the cracks in their fragile world. She entered, eyes still bleary from sleep, but hardly any spark lit her expression. "Good morning, Dad," she muttered, sitting at the table without looking up. The deflation of their bond stung as Mark struggled to find a way back to the vibrant girl he adored. "Hey, Pumpkin," he responded, injecting warmth into the name he lovingly called her. "I was thinking we could play some music while we eat. Your favorite?" Jenna shrugged, swirling her cereal aimlessly. I guess her tone suggested she was miles away, trapped in a swirling thought storm, far from him. Mark felt the urge to say something profound, to reach her, but the words tangled like spaghetti. Instead, he chose the only thing he knew, a way into her heart through their shared memories. "Remember when we danced around the kitchen last summer? You made up those ridiculous moves?" She lifted her eyes at that, briefly sparking with the memory. "Those were terrible. But they were ours." He smiled, nudging her with a playful elbow. "And I still have 2 left feet." A small smile flickered on her lips, but it vanished just as quickly. The weight of the truth loomed larger than any joyful memory. After breakfast, as Jenna rushed to get ready, Mark contemplated the next step. Was it time for further talks, digging deeper into a wound that had only begun to scab? Or was it wiser to let her find her own way through this mess, hoping she would realize that the love between them was unwavering, regardless of biology? The day dragged on. Mark ventured out to the park, hoping fresh air could clear his head. Little kids laughed and played, a reminder of the innocence and joy he once took for granted. A couple strolled by, hand in hand, exchanging whispers. It made him wonder if she'd want to seek that connection with someone else, leaving him behind. He took a deep breath, fighting against the torrent of despair. But in that moment, a thought pierced through his fear, a desperate need to not just survive, but to fight for what mattered most. Jenna's longing for identity didn't have to come at the expense of their bond. If she needed to explore her roots, he had to be by her side, ready to share her journey no matter how scary it felt. As he walked back home, determination filled his chest. That evening, when she finished her homework, he would sit her down again, ready to hear everything she had to say. The loop was tightening, but he vowed to never let go. At dinner, Jenna was quiet, fiddling with her fork. "Dad?" she finally asked, almost hesitantly. "Yeah, sweetie," Mark said, heart racing with hope. Jenna bit her lip, the hesitation palpable. "Can we talk about my real father?" His heart thumped loudly in his ears. The moment had come. Would he be ready to face whatever answers awaited them? He nodded slowly, a mix of fear and resolve coursing through him. "Of course, let us talk." But deep down, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that this conversation could change everything again. Would they emerge stronger, or would this open a door he feared would never be closed? Mark's heart hammered in his chest, a wild drumbeat against the backdrop of his thoughts. Jenna's question hung in the air like a fragile ornament, brimming with potential for heartbreak or revelation. He summoned a deep breath, wrestling the tumult of emotions swelling within him. "Okay," he said softly, trying to ground himself. "What do you want to know?" Jenna's gaze fell to her plate, her fork meticulously tracing patterns in the mashed potatoes. I don't know what it means. What should I think? He is out there, and I don't know why I've never met him." Mark nodded, wishing he could shield her from this. Yet he knew he couldn't defer this discussion anymore. "It's okay to be confused. It's a lot to take in. But I'm here for you, and we can talk about anything." She looked up, her eyes shimmering with vulnerability. "Do you know him? My biological father?" There it was, the question hanging heavy between them. Mark's throat felt tight. "I know a little," he replied, careful to tread the delicate line of truth. "He was part of a different time in my life. There were mistakes, too many choices that led to a lot of hurt. Was I a mistake? Her voice broke, a whisper that shattered him. Mark's heart twisted, and he reached out, covering her hand with his. No, Jenna. You are not a mistake. You are the best thing that ever happened to me. She gulped, tears pooling in her eyes. But I don't even know if I want to find him. It feels so strange. Like I'm supposed to choose? Choosing isn't something you have to do right now, Mark reassured her. It's okay to explore these feelings without rushing to answers. We can take this at your pace. A tear slipped down her cheek, and she wiped it away, embarrassed. I just don't want it to change things between us. You're my dad. You've always been there for me. What if I don't feel the same about him? Then you let me know that, he said softly, heart aching for the little girl she used to be, who used to climb into his lap when she felt scared. There's no right way to feel about this. Just know I am here, no matter what. Silence wrapped around them, a cocoon of thoughts and emotions. Finally, Jenna took a deep breath. What if I want to meet him? Will you come with me? Mark hesitated, the thought sending an icy shiver down his spine. There was a nagging fear of venturing into uncharted waters. If that's what you decide, he started slowly, I will be there. Every step of the way. She released a breath she didn't realize she was holding, striking a semblance of relief. Okay. I just want this to be okay, she whispered. It can be okay, he assured her, squeezing her hand. And no matter what happens, this family bond won't break. It's ours. Together. They sat there, his mind racing, the enormity of their conversation pressing down on him. Could they navigate this new path? Would meeting her father draw them closer or pull them apart? As they finished dinner in contemplative silence, Jenna glanced at him, a hint of resolve flaring in her eyes. Can we at least find out more about him first? I want to understand. Mark felt the tension ease a little. Absolutely. We can do that. Just know that your story is still being written, and I'll be right here, ink and paper in hand. Yet, even as he spoke those words, dread coiled around his heart. Would she really discover truths that could shift the foundations of their relationship? The night deepened, leaving Mark restless. He sat in the dark kitchen long after Jenna had gone to bed, staring into the shadow of the future ahead. Each unturned page held surprises, crossroads waiting to be faced. Could they find a way to navigate it together? Mark slumped down in the quiet, feeling the weight of hope and fear. The new chapter loomed, filled with mysteries and potential heartache. Would he lose her, or would they emerge stronger, side by side? The door to unknown revelations creaked open in his mind, begging the question, what would she uncover about her past that could shatter their bond forever? When morning light crept through the window, Mark was already awake, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts about Jenna's next move. He felt the weight of responsibility heavier than usual, like a storm cloud ready to burst. Would they really unlock the past, or would it trap them in a heavy silence? Jenna padded into the kitchen, hair tousled and eyes still sleepy, but the moment she saw him, her expression shifted. Hey, Dad, she said, her voice soft. Did you sleep okay? Not really, he admitted. Just thinking about everything. She perched on a chair, perusing her cereal as if it held the answers. Me too. Mark poured himself a cup of coffee, trying to keep his thoughts centered. So, where do you want to start? I mean, about finding him? She looked up with determination etched into her features. I think we should look up information. Find out what we can, without rushing into anything. Sounds like a smart plan. He couldn't help but smile at her newfound resolve. It reminded him that through all the uncertainty, Jenna had grown into a strong young woman. They spent the morning bathed in the hum of the old laptop, scrolling through names and records, piecing together bits of information. Jenna dove into the search, fingers flying across the keyboard. Each click felt heavy, like each new name was a stone adding weight to their journey. Mark couldn't shake the unease settling in his chest. We can take breaks, he suggested, noticing Jenna squinting at the screen. We don't have to do all this at once. I know, she replied, biting her lip. But I want to know. And she did. Mark admired her courage even as it fueled his own fears. Around noon, Jenna paused, leaning back in her chair with a sigh. It's not easy, is it? I mean, finding out about someone who's been missing all this time. Not easy at all, he replied gently. but facing it together will help. I promise. A few more clicks and then she gasped. Found something. Mark arched an eyebrow, leaning closer. What is it? It's a news article. He had a tough past. Jenna's fingers trembled as she shared the screen with him. The article detailed mistakes his father had made, arrests, and a life shrouded in chaos. It was confusing, an image painted in shades of darkness and regret. Mark felt a punch in his gut. The reality hit like cold water. Jenna, it's important to remember that everyone has layers. Just because someone made poor choices doesn't define who they are now. She looked at him, eyes wide. But what if he hasn't changed? What if he is still that person? That question burned. He could barely mask the trepidation that crept up inside of him. You'll have to decide that for yourself. But you don't have to do this alone. It's alright to take a step back if it feels too much. Yeah, but then I'd be stuck forever wondering, Jenna replied, frustration edging her voice. What if he is someone I could connect with? Or what if we're better off without him? The familiar tightness in Mark's heart returned. You could be right, but that's part of the journey. He reached out, placing a comforting hand on hers. And no matter what you discover, I'll support you. The tension in the room was palpable, thoughts swirling like autumn leaves in the wind. Jenna's brow furrowed in thought, the weight of her choices sitting heavily on her shoulders. They had cracked open the door, but there were still shadows behind it. Let's take a break, Mark suggested. Yet as he stood to grab a snack, he felt an urgency, a thought gnawing at him. He turned back to Jenna. What if we meet someone who knows him? Maybe a friend or family member. Could we do that? Jenna asked, her eyes lighting up. Find someone who knows him? Absolutely. It might provide clarity and outside perspective. He felt a flicker of hope as he considered the possibility. Jenna nodded slowly, determination returning. Let's do it. Mark felt the undercurrent of anxiety, mixed with a spark of hope. Yet as the day unfolded, he couldn't shake the feeling that this journey held more surprises than they could anticipate. The question lay heavy in the air, what if? Their search unveiled more than they bargained for? As they strategized their next steps, Mark could only wonder what fate lay waiting for them on this new path and what would happen when the truth finally emerged. The afternoon sun slanted through the kitchen window, draping a golden glow over the cluttered table. Mark and Jenna sat together with a different kind of determination. The computer screen flickered, illuminating the shadows of uncertainty that still hung between them. Okay, so who do we look for first? Jenna asked, her voice steady but laced with anticipation. Mark took a deep breath, a wave of emotions washing over him. Let's try finding someone from his past, maybe a childhood friend or someone who could shed light on who he is now. Jenna nodded, her focus returning to the screen. They began typing names, digging deeper into the maze of searches, fueled by a mix of hope and dread. With every click, the feeling of something lurking just beneath the surface persisted. Mark couldn't shake the worry that each new piece of information might lead them through a door they couldn't close again. As the hours ticked by, the lure of curiosity pulled Jenna further into her search. Eventually, an old Facebook profile appeared, friends, photos from years gone by, familiar faces from a time that felt like a different lifetime. Look, Dad. He has a cousin who still posts here, Jenna exclaimed, her fingers dancing over the keys. Mark's heart raced. Do you want to try reaching out? A moment of uncertainty flickered in Jenna's eyes. I don't know, what if they don't respond? Or what if they don't want to talk about him? Then we'll know, he said gently. But if they do respond, it could give you insight, a real connection to who he is. She hesitated but ultimately typed out a message, each word feeling weighty and significant, as though she were sending a piece of her heart into the void. Okay, I did it, she said, retracting her hands as if releasing a balloon into the air. Now we wait. The silence settled around them, thick with a mix of hope and anxiety. They moved about the house, trying to distract themselves, but each minute felt like an hour. Mark felt restless, as if they were on the edge of a cliff about to make a leap. Want to get some ice cream? He suggested, hoping a small treat would lighten the mood. Jenna grinned, a small spark of childhood joy breaking through the tension. Yes, please. But only if we get chocolate fudge. As they went out, a familiar innocence flickered back in the sunlight. Mark pulled her into a quick side hug, which she returned enthusiastically. He watched her laugh, and for a moment, the weight on his chest felt lighter. Back home, they sat on the couch, spoons clinking against bowls. Mark glanced at his phone, a habit that deepened the stillness in the air. What if they don't reply? He wondered aloud, concern creeping in. Jenna shrugged, her expression contemplative. Then we just keep moving forward. There are other ways to find out, right? True, he agreed. But maybe, just maybe, this could be the start of something. You're brave enough to seek that connection. Just then, her phone buzzed. The sound rang through the quiet, causing both of them to freeze. Jenna's eyes widened as she quickly reached for it, her heart pounding. It's a message, she gasped, staring at the screen. Mark leaned closer, shadowing her expression. What does it say? She opened the message, her breath hitching. It's from her. The cousin. She wants to talk and she knows stuff. Then let us talk, Mark said, feeling a mix of fear and excitement coiling in the pit of his stomach. As Jenna began to type back, Mark felt the weight of the moment settle around them, a point of potential transformation, a turning of the tide. He sensed the air thickening with possibility. What if this was the moment that changed everything? Jenna, he started, his voice steady yet cautious. This might lead us somewhere we never expected, and it could change everything. What is the worst that could happen? She quipped lightly, but he could see the tension in her brows soften some as they faced the unknown together. And in that moment, the world outside faded away, leaving only the bond they were rebuilding. The truth was on the horizon, a flame flickering. In the distance. Would they step forward into that light, or would they seek safety in the shadows? Jenna typed furiously, pausing only to let the weight of the moment settle in her heart. What does she know? Mark whispered, more to himself than to her. The words felt like a lit fuse, and he could sense the energy radiating from Jenna as she focused on the screen. After what felt like an eternity, her fingers finally stilled. Okay, I sent a response, she announced, a cocktail of hope and fear swirling between them. I just asked her what she knows about him. Mark nodded, trying to keep his own worries in check. Good. Now we wait. Minutes passed, turning into an anxious haze. The atmosphere in the room thickened. Time felt like it had lost its meaning. Mark picked up the half-empty bowl of ice cream, his spoon scraping against the sides, and he put it down again. Do you think she'll tell us anything useful? What if it's not what we want to hear? Jenna's voice was almost a whisper now, thick with uncertainty. He leaned back against the couch, trying to shake the nagging thoughts away. We have to be ready for anything. The truth, it can be tough but necessary. They had spent so long searching for pieces of a life that felt incomplete. With every moment that passed, their shared journey felt more monumental. He could see the fire in her eyes. Her dad's bravery was shining through her. Whatever she tells you, we can handle it together, he assured her. Then, out of nowhere, her phone buzzed again. Jenna jumped, barely containing a squeal. She opened the message quickly, her face shifting from nervous anticipation to wide-eyed astonishment. Okay, she wants to chat right now. Over video, her voice was a mix of excitable and startled. Do you want to? I mean, right now? Mark asked, his heart racing. The weight of that decision hung in the air like a delicate glass ornament, ready to shatter at the slightest jolt. I think I do, Jenna replied, half brave and half terrified. Mark felt a deep swell of pride for her readiness to confront this unknown. Then let us do it. Just remember, whatever she says, it doesn't define you. With a deep breath, she hit the button and the screen flickered to life. Jenna's cousin's face came into view smiling, but behind that grin lingered a hint of something deeper. Hey, I'm so glad we could connect, the cousin said, her voice warm yet tinged with hesitation. Mark could sense the gravity behind her words even without knowing more. The cousin's eyes shifted as she struggled with her thoughts. Jenna's expression flickered from nervous to expectant. You said you knew some things about my dad. Yes, I do. I have to tell you, it's kind of complicated. Mark leaned closer, heart pounding. This was it. The moment could shift the weight of their entire search. The reality they had been chasing was closing in on them, resonating with the sounds of Jenna's quiet breathing. "We're ready," Jenna said resolutely. "Whatever it is, I want to hear it." But before the cousin could speak, Jenna's phone began to glitch, a signal flickering across the screen. The connection suddenly dropped. "Oh, what just happened?" Mark's gut clenched. Jenna glanced up, her face pale but resolved. "If it dropped, we can just call back." Her voice trailed off, uncertainty creeping back in. But as she reached to reconnect, he could see her resolve wasn't shaken. "Even if it's hard to hear, I'm still ready for the truth." Suddenly, the idea of everything being changed loomed over them like a thick fog. Mark felt it too, an instinctual whisper urging them on. What if this truth leads us somewhere we never expected? Jenna stared at the screen, eyes fierce with determination. "Then we deal with it together. We're a team. One way or another, we're finding out." Just as she pressed the button, hoping to regain connection, Mark couldn't shake the feeling that whatever lay ahead would unravel secrets that had been buried for too long. They were on the cusp of revelation, anticipation built like thunderclouds overhead. And what would they uncover in that storm? The screen blinked, a few seconds of silence before it came back to life. Jenna's cousin appeared again, though this time her smile felt strained. "Sorry about that," she said, her voice a little shaky. "I think the signal is just unpredictable." "No problem," Jenna replied, not allowing her impatience to surface. "You were about to tell us something important." "Right," the cousin started, her eyes reflecting an internal battle. "It's really complicated, like I said. There's so much I don't know, but I've heard things that might change how you see him." The weight of those words felt like a lead ball in Mark's stomach. Jenna waited, her breath catching, the air electric with questions. "What do you mean? What have you heard?" Her cousin hesitated, biting her lip as if she were piecing together a puzzle. "Your dad, he wasn't just a soldier. There were parts of his life he kept hidden from everyone, even from me." Mark felt tension radiating around them, an invisible wall closing in. "Hidden?" he echoed, curiosity mingled with dread. "Yeah." Jenna's cousin looked like she was wrestling with the past. "There's a chance he was involved with some people, bad people. There's talk that he might have been part of something that put him at risk." Jenna's face hardened. "What do you mean by bad people? What does that mean for him, for us?" "I don't know for sure, but from what I gathered, he was trying to protect you, and himself too. Things may not have been as straightforward as they seemed. The truth could be darker than you want to believe." Jenna's heart raced. "What else do you know?" The cousin hesitated, her gaze drifting away. "I honestly don't have much information. I just overheard pieces of conversations among family members that hinted at things, maybe even secrets that could put you in danger." Danger. The words saturated the air with a new weight. Mark took a gentle breath, wanting to break the tension. "Jenna, we've been through so much already. Whatever it is, we can handle it together no matter how difficult." Jenna looked at him, the fire in her eyes mixed with uncertainty. "But what if we're stepping into something we can't control?" "We'll figure it out. We have to. I believe your dad would want you to know the truth, no matter how deep or dark it may be." Jenna's cousin interjected again, her voice now softer. "Just be careful. Someone might not want you digging into his past." The implications of that warning hung heavy in the room, every heartbeat reverberating with concern. Mark could see Jenna's mind spinning, her typical inquisitive nature challenged by fear. "The truth is like a door," Mark said, grasping for something reassuring. "Sometimes you have to push against it to see what's on the other side." Jenna turned back to the screen, her expression determined yet anxious. "Okay, I need to know more. Can you help me? Is there anyone else I can talk to?" Her cousin nodded slowly. "I can try to reach out to a few people. But you must promise me, whatever you uncover, promise me you'll be careful." "I promise." Jenna's voice was steady, sealing their unspoken agreement. Mark felt a swell of respect for Jenna. She was willing to leap into the unknown, ready to wrestle with the shadows of her father's past, even with the risks ahead. The moment felt heavy with possibility and trepidation. As the video ended, Jenna exhaled sharply, looking lost in thought. "Mark, what if we find something we can't handle?" He wrapped an arm around her shoulders, the warmth of his support grounding her. Then we handle it together. Just remember, sometimes the hardest roads lead to the brightest destinations. But as Jenna leaned into him, the weight of uncertainty hung between them like a storm cloud ready to burst. Are we really ready for this? She whispered, vulnerability leaking through. Mark squeezed her tighter, heart racing with the uncharted territory they had just stepped into. Honestly, I don't know. But one thing I do know is the truth often brings light, even if it takes us through darkness first. Just then, Jenna's phone buzzed again. Their eyes met, a flicker of both hope and dread intertwining. Who is it? Mark asked, curiosity seeping through the worry. As she glanced down, her breath caught. It's another message, but from someone I never expected. What revelations waited at the end of this new thread? Jenna's heart pounded as she read the name on her screen. It's from a woman named Clara. I barely remember her, but my dad used to mention her sometimes like she was someone significant to him. What does it say? Mark leaned in closer, the tension palpable between them. The room felt stifling, the air thick with anticipation, each second creeping by. She's asking if I want to meet her. Jenna's voice trembled. She says she has answers, things you want to believe about my dad. Mark's stomach twisted in knots. A mixture of excitement and fear surged through him. What do you think? Should we meet her? Jenna bit her lip, staring at the screen as if the answer would magically materialize. What if she knows things that turn everything upside down for us? I mean, what if she's connected to whatever bad people my dad was involved with? That's a possibility. But it could also be what you need: a chance to understand your dad, to find closure, or maybe even to protect yourself. With a deep breath, Jenna's finger hovered over the screen. I don't know, Mark. This could be dangerous. What if there's a reason he kept her from us? Or maybe he thought she could help you, Mark said softly. You'll never know unless you take that leap. It could be the key to unraveling whatever secret he was hiding. Jenna considered his words, her mind racing. Memories flashed through her childhood stories, how her father shielded her from the pain of life, and the haunting shadows in his eyes when he thought she wasn't looking. What if I find out something I can't handle? What if she's dangerous? Jenna, you're strong. Whatever this is, remember you're not alone. You have me. His voice wrapped around her like a warm blanket, easing some of the anxiety churning in her chest. She took a deep breath, letting the warmth of his support bolster her courage. Okay, she finally said, feeling a rush of determination. I'll reply. I'll ask to meet. But I want you there with me. Mark nodded. I wouldn't have it any other way. Jenna quickly tapped out a message, her fingers trembling slightly. I want to meet. Where and when? After sending it, she stared at the screen, almost willing a reply to come through. The minutes crawled by, a heavy silence surrounding them. Outside, the sky had deepened into twilight, hinting at the unknown that lay ahead just as dark shadows could loom around a corner. Suddenly, her phone buzzed, jolting her. Jenna's breath caught again as she opened the response. It was brief, but held enough weight to expand her fears. Tonight, 8 p.m. The old diner on Maple. Mark's eyes widened. That place? It's been closed for years. Exactly, Jenna whispered, fear creeping back in. Why there? I don't know, but it sounds like a trap, right? Or a clue. A clue to my past. Jenna's resolve hardened as she locked eyes with Mark. We have to go, don't we? No matter what. Yeah, he replied, his voice steady. But we go prepared. What might await them in the shadows of that abandoned diner? The thrill of unearthing the truth surged within her, mingling with fear. Jenna felt a spark ignite inside, mixing hope and dread into a heady cocktail that promised either liberation or chaos. Let us do this, Jenna whispered, a sense of purpose flooding her veins as they prepared for a confrontation with the tangled threads of her father's world. Little did they know, this meeting would unravel everything they thought they knew. Would the truth set Jenna free, or would it trap her deeper in a web of danger? The clock was ticking toward 8. Would they step into darkness, or find the light within? As the minutes dwindled down to 8, a mix of nerves and adrenaline flared inside Jenna. She stood by the window, glancing out at the shadows creeping across the street. Mark shuffled behind her, gathering supplies: pepper spray, a flashlight, and a couple of snacks for the road. She appreciated his efforts to maintain some normalcy, even as uncertainty loomed ahead. What if she doesn't show? Jenna voiced, insecurity creeping back in. What if this is all a setup? Mark turned to her, his eyes earnest. It's a possibility. But we've come this far. There's no backing down now. Jenna swallowed hard. She wanted to feel brave, to shake off the fear tightening her chest, but Clara's message haunted her. This woman could hold answers Jenna had yearned for her entire life. But what if those answers shattered everything she thought she knew? Mark slipped a comforting hand onto her shoulder, grounding her in that moment. Whatever we find tonight, you're not alone in this. She met his comforting gaze, allowing herself a small smile before the gravity of the evening drew her back. They silently agreed this was a risk worth taking. With a final glance in the mirror, Jenna soothed the wild urges in her heart. It was time to face the music. The drive to the diner felt surreal. The streets whizzed by, their colors blending in the twilight. Familiar sights were swallowed by the night, and the unease settled in Jenna's stomach like heavy lead. But with Mark beside her, she felt an inkling of courage, like carrying a piece of armor into the unknown. As they pulled up to the diner, an old neon sign flickered to life. Open, it read, although the rusty hinges of the door had been long abandoned. Mark parked a little way off, both of them slipping out of the car cautiously. Ready? Mark asked, his voice just above a whisper. Jenna nodded, steeling herself. They walked toward the diner, the silence wrapping around them like an icy blanket. Jenna couldn't shake the memory of her dad's warnings about the dark sides of life. She wondered if Clara had something to do with it all. The diner loomed in front of them. Faded red booths and cracked tiles told tales of its glory days long past. As they stepped inside, the air felt heavy with unspoken stories. Dust motes danced in the stale light, and the clattering of footsteps echoed off the empty walls. Do you think she'll actually show up? Jenna whispered, her eyes scanning the shadows. Let us just wait and see, Mark replied, lowering his voice. An overwhelming stillness enveloped them, where every creak of wood sounded amplified. Then, there was a subtle rustling from behind one of the booths. Jenna's heart raced as a figure emerged from the shadows. Clara stood there, her features broken yet familiar, and Jenna felt a wave of emotions crash over her: curiosity mixed with apprehension. Jenna? Clara's voice sliced through the silence, pulling Jenna in like a magnet. You came. I need to know, Jenna stammered, both drawn to the woman and terrified of her presence. You said you had answers? I do. About your father, and about you. Mark stepped protectively closer to Jenna, his eyes narrowing. What do you mean? Clara's gaze flickered between them, a mix of regret and urgency in her eyes. There are things you don't understand. You're in danger, and if we don't talk now, it may be too late. Jenna felt a shiver run through her. She took a deep breath, fighting to hold on to her resolve. What do you know? There, in that dimly lit diner with the past closing in, Jenna knew they were on the brink of something monumental. Would Clara's revelations bring clarity or cast them deeper into chaos? With a sense of foreboding, Jenna prepared herself to dig into a truth she had long avoided. The night was far from over, and every heartbeat echoed the uncertainty of what was about to unfold. Would they emerge from the shadows stronger or trapped in a web of deception? The moment of truth was upon them, cloaked in the dim light of the diner. Clara took a step closer, her presence overwhelming like a storm cloud ready to burst. There's so much to explain, she began, her voice wavering slightly. But you need to know about your father first. Jenna's breath hitched, a mix of anticipation and fear swirling in her chest. Tell me, she insisted, gripping Mark's hand tightly. Clara swallowed, glancing toward the door as if expecting someone to follow her. He wasn't just a soldier. He was caught up in a world of illegal dealings, dangerous people who wouldn't hesitate to hurt those he cared about to protect their secrets. Mark's protective instincts flared, and he stepped in front of Jenna slightly. Why are we only hearing this now? He demanded, anger and concern competing for dominance. Because he wanted to keep you both safe, Clara shot back, her voice firm yet sorrowful. When he realized the extent of the danger, he made a choice to disappear from your lives, to shield you from a past that could come back to haunt you. But now, the truth is surfacing, and it's dangerous. They're still looking for him. A chill enveloped Jenna. He wasn't a bad person, she whispered, the words escaping as a plea rather than a statement. He loved me. He wouldn't just abandon us. He made mistakes, Jenna. We all do, Clara said softly. But he thought about you every day. The reason I reached out is because I know the men he was involved with and they won't stop searching unless they pinpoint his location. You might be in danger just by being his daughter. Mark's grip on Jenna tightened. The revelation sent a cascade of conflicting emotions crashing down around them: betrayal, heartbreak, and fierce determination mixed together. What do we do? He asked, his voice tense. Clara took a shaky breath, clearly struggling with her own fears. We need to create a safe plan, and you're going to have to dig into the truth together. I can help you. Jenna's heart raced, thoughts spiraling as she processed the heaviness of her reality. What do you mean? How do I find out more? Clara moved closer, leaning in conspiratorially. There's a small group of people who could help, former allies of your father who are now scattered but still care about him. They know where to look next. Tonight? Mark exclaimed, incredulous. You think we should reach out to them? Following Clara's leads could be, he faltered, searching for the right words amidst his fear for their safety. Necessary, Clara interrupted, her resolve tightening. If we don't act now, the very men who forced your father into hiding will find out. And they could come after you. The weight of her words crashed over them. Jenna felt both the excitement of potential discovery and overwhelming dread. Are you sure they'll help us? She asked, searching Clara's eyes for certainty. I have a contact, Clara affirmed, her expression intense. But we have to move fast. What we're uncovering is dangerous, and those who hide in the shadows don't play around. What is the plan? Mark spoke firmly, his protective nature pushing through. Tonight, we'll contact my friend. He can connect us to others who will know more about your dad's disappearance, and possibly how to keep you safe, Clara explained, her voice steady despite the turmoil swirling around them. Jenna took a deep breath, her heart hammering in her chest. She wanted answers, but also feared what those answers might bring. I'm ready, she stated, meeting Clara's determined gaze. If this could help get to the truth, then we need to do it. Whatever it takes. Mark nodded his agreement, the bond of their shared journey reminding them they would face the storm together. He felt a fire ignite inside Jenna, a determination carved from a yearning for the truth and a desire to protect their family. They huddled closer, strategy forming in whispered discussions. The diner around them seemed to fade into shadows, the outside world slipping away as clarity began to take shape. As they prepared to reach out to Clara's contact, Jenna felt the tempest inside her quiet slightly. The truth was uncertain, and she knew it could lead her to the darkest corners of her father's life, but she also felt the flickering flame of hope, the chance to reclaim her story and reconnect with the legacy of love beneath the chaos. She looked at Clara, the woman who had stepped from the shadows, and whispered, "Together, we'll uncover what happened. Together, we will protect what matters most, our family. No more hiding." It was a promise, though the road ahead was laden with dangers yet unknown. The weight of her father's choices felt heavy, but Jenna was ready to face the stakes. No longer would she shy away from the truth, she would confront it and emerge stronger, no matter the cost. They stepped into the gathering dusk, hand in hand, ready for whatever shadows awaited them outside the diner, a testament to their undying resolve to turn fear into courage and find the light within the darkness. And as they ventured forth, Jenna's heart surged with determination. It was time to reclaim her story. If you felt the power of Jenna's journey, you need to subscribe now to catch the next chapter in this transformative saga. Leave a like now to show your support and feed the algorithm, it really makes a difference. Comment below your reactions and feelings about the ending because I want to know what you think. And most importantly, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this journey of courage and truth. Don't wait not even one more second to share. because true fans understand the importance of supporting this channel through these actions.